Dover Castle stands on the white cliffs of Kent, watching the English Channel like a silent guardian. For more than 2,000 years, armies have passed through this ground. Romans, Saxons, Normans, medieval knights, modern soldiers. Every empire that feared invasion built something here. Walls rose higher, tunnels were carved deeper, and generation after generation prepared for a war they believed was coming. Blood soaked into chalk and stone. But some wars, they say, never truly leave, because beneath Dover Castle, deep underground, something still marches. Dover Castle was never just a castle. It was a military machine, layered across centuries. The Romans were the first to carve tunnels beneath these cliffs in the 1st century after Christ. They used them as lookout points, storage chambers, and places to hide from enemy fire. Centuries later, medieval engineers expanded those same tunnels, turning the underground into a hidden city of war. Passageways, armories, sleeping quarters, escape routes. Every generation believed these tunnels would protect them from invasion. Instead, they may have trapped something else. The earliest recorded sightings of what would later be called the phantom soldiers date back to the late 1700s. Night guards stationed near sealed tunnel entrances began reporting strange sounds beneath their feet. Footsteps. Not random, not scattered. Dozens of footsteps marching in perfect rhythm. Guards described the sound as unmistakable. Boots striking stone, metal scraping against metal, the faint echo of armor shifting with every step. When the guards opened the tunnel doors, the sounds stopped instantly. Nothing was ever found. No animals, no wind tunnels, no structural explanation. Officers dismissed the reports as imagination until the sightings grew clearer. In the early 19th century, workers were sent underground to expand and reinforce the tunnels. That is when the reports changed. They didn't just hear soldiers anymore. They saw them. Not shadows, not reflections, men in Roman armor, helmets, shields, short swords. They marched silently through tunnels that no longer officially existed on any map. Witnesses said the soldiers' faces were pale, emotionless, and strangely out of focus, as if they were being viewed through water or time itself. And there was one detail every witness agreed on. The soldiers never acknowledged the living. They marched through walls, through sealed stone, sometimes directly through the workers themselves. Those who experienced it reported an intense freezing cold and the smell of damp earth mixed with iron, like freshly disturbed graves. During World War II, Dover Castle's tunnels were brought back into full use. They became command centers, shelters during air raids, places where soldiers waited, listening to bombs fall above their heads. That is when the phenomenon changed again. Men underground reported hearing 2 different armies marching at the same time. One heavy and metallic, slow, disciplined. The other lighter, faster, as if centuries apart. Some soldiers claimed the tunnels stretched longer than they should have. One officer wrote in his private journal that after following the marching sounds, he walked for nearly 20 minutes through a tunnel that officially ended after 3. When he turned back, he was suddenly standing at the entrance again. His watch showed only seconds had passed. Time beneath Dover Castle did not behave normally. By the mid-20th century, sightings were no longer limited to Roman soldiers. Visitors and military personnel reported medieval knights in chainmail, Norman foot soldiers, even figures resembling 18th century infantry. They appeared in different sections of the underground. They never fought. They never spoke. They only marched. Some witnesses noticed something deeply unsettling. Each group seemed completely unaware of the others, as if trapped in its own moment of history, repeating the same march again and again and again. Historians and paranormal researchers eventually proposed a disturbing explanation. Dover Castle was built, rebuilt, and defended through constant fear of invasion. Every tunnel absorbed terror, exhaustion, discipline, death. The chalk cliffs beneath the castle are porous, capable of holding sound, moisture, and vibration. But what if they also hold memory? The theory suggests the phantom soldiers are not ghosts in the traditional sense. They are war echoes, moments of intense human experience imprinted into the environment, replaying like broken recordings, a time loop without awareness, a march without an end. One of the most chilling accounts comes from a maintenance crew in the 1950s. 3 men entered a sealed tunnel section to inspect structural damage. They heard marching ahead of them and assumed it was a military drill. Then they saw the soldiers. Dozens of figures moved toward them, partially transparent, their boots never fully touching the ground. The men froze. As the soldiers reached them, the air temperature dropped sharply, the lights flickered, and then everything vanished. When the crew ran back to the entrance, they discovered something impossible. They had been underground for over 4 hours. Their watches had stopped. Even today, visitors report unexplained footsteps beneath Dover Castle, rhythmic, metallic sounds, the overwhelming feeling of being watched. Guides avoid certain tunnel sections after dark. Some areas remain closed, not because they are unsafe, but because no explanation satisfies what continues to happen there. The soldiers never appear above ground. It's as if the earth itself refuses to release them. Perhaps Dover Castle is not haunted by the dead. Perhaps it is haunted by history refusing to move forward. Dover Castle has never fallen to invasion, but maybe the price of that victory was eternal. Because deep beneath the cliffs of Kent, the wars of the past are still being fought, not with swords, not with cannons, but with endless footsteps, echoing through time. And if you listen closely, in the silence between heartbeats, you can still hear them marching.